Welcome to the Get Found Radio podcast. This is the show for entrepreneurs that are ready to get found and land clients so you can live your purpose. Here's your host, Jared Warner.
All right, Sabah, welcome to Get Found Radio.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
I appreciate you taking the time. Do the listeners a favor and tell us who you help and how you help them, and then we'll talk about ways that we can implement to grow that.
Yeah, for sure. So a couple months ago, back in December, actually, I founded my digital Instagram agency. So pretty much what I do with that is I focus a lot on content creation. So currently I'm working with local businesses, a couple of lifestyle entrepreneurs to pretty much help them with their Instagram on their content, their copy, hashtag research, doing the actual posting, and making sure their brand for their business or their personal brand correlates well enough, on their Instagram page.
Okay, awesome. And so the people that you're working with, do they typically already have an Instagram account, or do they have one, but they think it's too time consuming, or they don't have one, but they know they need to, or?
Yeah. So it's usually they do have one, but they either don't post at all, or they're maybe only made like one post, or they're very infrequent on it. So they post maybe like once every couple months, and then a couple of them, locals here, the business owners are a lot more older, so they don't know actually how to use Instagram on its own. So I have quite a variety, but pretty much is they have an Instagram, but they don't know, how much they should be posting and what to be posting on there.
Okay, you got it. And so in terms of content creation, do you create the content for them, or do you have them like provide pictures and then you take it from there, or how does that process work?
Yeah, so it really depends on the client. Some of them, they do have, photographers in-house where they take pictures and then they give me the content. And then for some of them, they want me to actually produce the content. So it really depends on the client. I do both, but mainly they already do have content. So, for example, for one of my local businesses, it's a restaurant. What they like to do is they like to do a lot of like promotional posts. So they already have, pictures of, let's say, a pint of beer, and what I would do is just add a little bit of text or copy on the actual post, put the actual caption, and then post for them.
Okay, perfect. So in terms of ideal client, they already have an account. They can be like subject matter expert or a local business. Do you have a preference with those?
I don't have an exact preference, but it is, my ideal client is somebody who literally just doesn't have the time to do it themselves, or doesn't really know how to use Instagram. So I found that local businesses are my ideal clients because, they are a little bit older. They don't know why they should be on social media, kind of that type of thing. They don't really have the time to do so. However, I know a lot of lifestyle entrepreneurs on the same boat. They know they need to be on Instagram, but they just don't have the time to do so. And then still, I personally think Instagram is a very, very, very popular platform that I feel like everybody should be on, but not a lot of people know exactly how to use it.
Right.
So that's kind of where I educate them on, how you could be using your posts and why it's important to be posting, consistently and stuff like that.
Okay, you got it. So I would say that probably a large chunk of your potential ideal clients are probably, Chamber of Commerce members. They're members of like BNI groups and, those type of networking groups, which are, more old school, more time consuming.
Yeah.
Not as results driven, but they probably are still doing those things because they don't know exactly what else to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely.
So one of the things you can do is use Facebook to market to them because they're probably not on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Your ideal client might they're probably aware that they should have an account, but they're probably not on there scrolling. So I think the main target should actually be through Facebook.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that definitely, hits it right on the head for that. Because yeah, I am, currently and have been looking through, all my local businesses, and I see what type of social media platforms they are on. And yeah, if they don't have Instagram, they definitely are on Facebook.
Yeah, definitely. So if you have a budget to run ads, and it can be a small budget, even a few $100, that would be one way to reach them nationwide and reach
Hmm.
a big audience. I'm going to be doing a workshop at the end of this month as we record this. I'm not sure when this episode goes live, but I think it goes live before. Or I guess we're at the end of this month, at the end of next month. But let's cover that now. So it's going to be on digital conversations and how to create conversations. So previously, like in the last 10, 20, even more than that years, the predominant marketing methodology was direct response. And so we had a rise of copywriters and things like Dan Kennedy, and way before him, Claude Hopkins, and all these guys, John Carlton, Gary Halbert, Gary Benzaniga, and all these guys were like titans of direct response copywriting. We're kind of, I wouldn't say that that's not effective, but I would say on social media in particular, to a cold audience, it's definitely not as effective as it used to be. And the reason being, we're seeing more marketing messages today than ever in human history.
Hmm.
Even people who aren't super active on social platforms are still going to see around 5,000 marketing messages a day.
Yeah, sounds
That's
about right.
that's crazy. So when you're in that mode of buy now, all of this stuff, it's like they just kind of are desensitized to it, and so they kind of skip over it. But
Hmm.
people are open to learning things. They're open to, growing their business. They're open when you're talking about them, when it's all about them and it's not about you and how cool you are. So one of the things I'm going to be teaching at that workshop is how to create digital conversations. And that is a method I believe would be perfect for you. And so one of the ways to do that is you target your ideal client, which I think is pretty easy to identify. So they're a
Hmm.
small business owner. They like the Chamber of Commerce. They like the Better Business Bureau pages. Some of the things you could probably go, substantially deeper than that. But BNI, these type of organizations.
Right.
When you
Hmm.
run ads, by the way, those audiences are probably large enough that you should keep them at their own interest and split test. Like, maybe you run, I don't know if you've run Facebook ads before.
I have not, no.
Okay. So inside of Facebook ads, they have a split testing feature,
Okay.
and you can run ads to split test which audience is better.
Hmm.
So I would, run the maybe Chamber of Commerce versus BNI versus, Better Business Bureau might, run against the winner, that kind of thing. So I won't go too far down the rabbit hole on that, but because I will be covering it in the workshop. But
Yeah.
basically, you pretty much want to run like video one, where you're introducing the power of Instagram, and maybe you're not asking them for anything, you're just kind of telling them why they need to be there.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you can think of stats like, the growth of Instagram, how, that's where their ideal client is likely hanging out, where, it's grown over the last 5 years from this to this, and those sort of things. And so what you do is you build an audience and you retarget that video. So people who watched, say, 75% of that video in the first video, I would suggest making it like 30 seconds or less.
Right. Yeah.
Because if people don't know you, they're not going to give you like several minutes of their time. They're just
True.
not going to. They'll,
Yeah.
they'll look at the video and then go, "Oh yeah, that's 3 minutes. Have a nice day. Bye, bye, Sabah." And they'll just
Yeah, that sounds right.
they'll keep scrolling. But they could give you 30 seconds, That's like
Mhm.
not that big of a deal, especially if your copy is compelling, and that's where the direct response copywriting part comes in. So for those listening, I'm not saying direct response copywriting is dead. I'm just saying we've got to adapt our tactics. That's all. So you use some compelling copy that calls them out. You talk about, you know, the growth of Instagram, and you in the first video you have no call to action, nothing. There's no button.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't even have necessarily a learn more. You could um, have the button as a messenger button. I've been testing
Okay.
that recently, and just before we got on the call, I saw a client got a couple of messages, so that's actually working. So you can have the thing where they can send you a message and chat with you on there if they want to, but
Mhm.
you're not asking for anything. And then you retarget with a tip, something that they can do, like say a hashtag research tip. And you just basically what you're doing is you're giving them valuable stuff, but and you can actually give them everything because they don't know what you know. They don't have the confidence to go and fully implement it,
Mhm.
but they will learn through a series of videos that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they'll go,
Yeah.
you know what? I should probably reach out to Sabah. So, however many videos you want to do, you can, you know, however many tips you can come up with. And here's the way I would recommend doing it. If you were to write out a whole conversation as if the person was standing in front of you, and
Mhm.
you said, you know, Mr. Potential Client or Mrs. Potential Client, here's, you know, why you should be on Instagram. It's growing at a rate of, you know, blank. It's 5 years ago there was this many users. Today there's this many users. Projections are going from here to here. um, Facebook is declining. You know, it's not declining that much, but you know, you can say that it's declining a little bit. So because of the rise of Instagram and all this stuff. So that's why they're interested. And then the next thing you can say, so here's some tips that I'm going to give you. And then whatever you would say to them after that. So like the first one could be hashtag research. The next one could be content creation ideas. The next one could be, you know, whatever, follower growth strategies. You know, you can go from one thing to the next. And then you basically, your goal is to build trust and you continually retarget. So as your audiences will get smaller and smaller, so your first ad might have an audience of, you know, say a couple million. I think the
Yeah.
BNI audience is probably, I don't know, off the top of my head, it's probably a couple million, maybe even
Mhm.
8 million or something in the US. I haven't looked at that one in a very long time, but you know, it'll go from that to people who watch 50% or say 75% of the video. So now maybe your audience slowly builds because the first video keeps running. Then the second audience, the only people who see the second video are people who saw 75% of the first video.
Mhm.
And then the only people who see the third video saw, you know, 75% of the second video. So
Right.
you're talking to a more and more specific audience, and you're just building trust and all that stuff. And the whole time, you're not necessarily asking them for anything except maybe in the third video. You can say, hey, if this, you know, stuff interests you and you want to learn more, just hit the messenger button. Let's have a chat and see if it's a good fit. And then you can
Mhm.
just chat with them through Messenger.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense because I've never ran actual Facebook ads, but that was something, I definitely was curious about. And I was like figuring out, how I could use that in order to, bring in people that would be interested. So this method that you're telling me right now, I can definitely see, how it could work on first, just putting out videos to educate them on, why Instagram is important and having that sequence of videos and then seeing what people would be interested. Because right now, what I'm currently doing is I'm just doing direct email and I'm doing just calls. So I haven't done actual like paid advertisement on Facebook, but I think, I want to try that out to see what type of leads I could get for sure.
Yeah, and you know, you can start out with your first video using video view objective. You know, and again, I'll break that down more on the workshop, but using a video view objective, and then you can maybe set it at like say $10 or
Hmm.
something, and then just watch it, and then you know a few bucks a day for your next couple videos. And I think you could probably do like a 3 video sequence
Yeah.
and walk them through that.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea to, start with for sure.
And I think each client is worth probably, I'm not sure what you charge, but $1,500 a month, easy minimum.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you can
Yeah.
definitely charge more if you're doing, all the content creation. You can easily charge more because it does take a lot of work. So you do have to, you know, mind that while you're, trying to build your business, that you can't give away everything because then you can't actually build it and you're working on one account for like $1,500 all month.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely makes sense for sure. I mean, when I first started, I was debating on how to price it, but once I actually started getting into it, I could see, how it is still a lot of work. So, yeah, yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from, on the pricing and stuff.
The other thing I would say is that you can simultaneously have a coaching program where the people
Mhm.
who don't want to pay that much a month, but would really love to bounce some ideas and questions off you,
Mhm. Mhm.
where you could charge them, maybe it's a few $100 a month, and they're in your group, and you do Q&As and you do trainings, and you show case studies about, clients that you're working on and that kind of thing. And eventually maybe that becomes a bigger business than the done for you, because the done for you is a lot of time, but you can quickly build up a pretty big sizable income.
Right. Yeah, I definitely thought about that too. With that, I feel like the audience for that would be kind of a different one though, because, with the locals that I have been talking to, they don't have time to, learn to do it themselves. So I could see, where they want it done for you, but
Oh
definitely in
yeah.
the long run, I would want to switch over to doing something like coaching and consulting for sure.
Right. Yeah. And the ones that don't have time or the confidence,
Yeah.
if they don't even have the app on their phone, they're not a fit for coaching.
Yeah, that's very true.
So it's like, do you have the app on your phone, and have you logged in the past 7 days? No, you're not a fit.
Yeah.
Pretty.
That would be a tough one to actually get started on, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then the other thing I would strongly suggest too is to build your Facebook personal profile. And I know because we're connected, you dig video, so
Mm.
keep rolling with the video.
Yeah.
You're not scared to hit the button and say go live.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
That doesn't scare you, so keep doing that. And you can give a lot of the same things. You can say Instagram growth strategies as your subject, or you can just say follower growth strategies, hashtag research strategies, and all that kind of stuff, and you will generate a lot of uh, response.
Right. So would you recommend doing that just on my personal page or like my business page?
I would
Because
say I
I
would say
have
both.
both.
I
Okay.
would say both. So you need your business page in order to run ads.
Right.
So you have to have that. But I would also, build your name recognition and land some clients for free from your Facebook personal profile. And
Mm.
if you don't have any disposable income, and you're hesitant to run ads, start there first and build, land several clients, and then take 10, 20, 30% of that and put it towards an ad budget.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because with video, I do notice when I do lives and I talk about Instagram tips, I do see a lot more engagement. So I feel like if I stay consistent on that, people will start obviously seeing that a lot more. So, it'll be a lot more easier, I think, for me to try and target those people who actually do need help with their Instagrams.
definitely. And you can get to 5,000 people on your Facebook personal profile. I'm not sure where you're at now, but you can add people from groups and grow all the way to 5,000, and just get your ideal customer there.
True. Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
them friends. And the other thing you can do is you can share a tip video into a group,
Hmm.
I'm going to talk about this on the workshop as well. So the first part of it is not an ad. You just share like value into a group, which groups don't like you usually sharing stuff. But if it's value and there's no pitch whatsoever,
Mm-hmm.
most groups will just let you go. So be familiar with the group before you do it. Don't just join a group and do it. Usually,
Right.
if you do that, they'll kick you out no matter what their rules are.
Yeah.
Um, but if you're in some groups and you kind of know the lay of the land and you know that it's okay to do that, then you post that video into the group and you already will have the audience, retargeting audience built up. So it's the same exact process as the other one, as the first strategy I shared with you. But the difference is the first eyeballs on that video are not paid. They're free. And then it's just a couple bucks a day. And you're only running the ads to people who are interested and saw the first video.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
No,
much
that definitely
slower
makes sense.
because, the groups are, I mean, even big groups only have like 60,000 people instead of, a couple million, and Facebook just keeps running it and dropping it in the newsfeed. In a group, it will, get some eyeballs on it. And then if it's a really busy group, it could just disappear and then you stop getting views on it. So that's the downside. The upside is your initial budget is much smaller. Your audience is smaller as well, but then you can also craft videos specifically for the groups. Like you can call out the group specifically and then put the video in there. And then it's, you'll get more targeted eyeballs, but you're not going to have the volume as you will with the
Mm-hmm.
paid ad on the first part of it.
Right. Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. What are your thoughts on, I know there's so many people right now that are creating their own groups on Facebook. Is that something, you've done before? You would think that would be beneficial or?
Yeah, you can definitely do it. I think groups do take work. You put out kind of a lot of content anyway, so maybe it wouldn't be too big of a deal for you.
Mhm.
I only have a paid group personally, and I just started it last night as we record this. But and the reason was because it takes a lot of time, and I'm doing all kinds of other stuff. So um, it just depends on how much time you want to put into it. The group owners who put the most time end up with the biggest numbers and the most dedicated following.
Right.
So
Mhm.
there's that. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely do that, and it is a good way to show yourself as an expert. You also know the other way to show yourself as an expert is to write a book. You wrote one, so
Yeah.
you could write another one. The drawback on that being that technology stuff comes and goes, and so
Yeah.
the things you share
Yeah.
on there, it's harder to make something on Instagram be more timeless.
Mhm. That's
So
true. Yeah,
that's
for
the
sure.
drawback on that.
Yeah, for sure.
But you can definitely put out regular content. So I would use. Or do you use LinkedIn at all?
Very minimally. When I used to blog, I would put my blog posts on there. I am active on there, but I don't share as much content as I do on Facebook.
Yeah, I would definitely have Instagram as one of your platforms as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm
And
on Instagram for sure.
or I'm sorry, not definitely Instagram, of course, but I mean LinkedIn. I would
You
I
like,
would
yeah.
spend some time there because you can target them by business type,
Hmm.
which can be pretty powerful. So there's several tools. There's Linked Helper and Duck Soup, where you can build your following by, um, you log in and then search for them, and then just set it to run. And so it can visit the profile, send a connection request, and send an initial message,
Hmm.
which is really cool. And so you just let it run in the background while you're working on other stuff, and it can
That's
just
awesome.
build your profile that way, and then just share stuff, just record videos. I would do them separate because if you're doing a Facebook Live, you're going to be answering questions.
Hmm.
you address people when they come on and say hello and answer questions and stuff. So that doesn't make for a really intriguing multi-purpose video to repurpose on LinkedIn, but you could just record a really quick one, just like, hey, I got a quick tip, like here, if you're one of the main drivers of follower growth is having relevant keywords, and so here's how to and do that kind of thing. So that's what I would do, and then you can definitely build some land some clients from there.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense because LinkedIn was one platform that I did want to, start putting out more content in. And like the tools that you mentioned, I really want to look into those because I haven't put that much thought on LinkedIn, but there are, so many business owners on there. So that's definitely, somewhere that I could for sure get some clients.
And as we record this, there's like 600 million active users on LinkedIn. So it's not a small platform. It's like growing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So that's definitely one to look at. But that's what I would do, is just kind of put out content, brand yourself as the expert. Since you're going to provide a done for you service, don't be afraid to give away the farm. You can literally tell them everything, and your ideal client is not going to do it. They're going to hire you to do it.
Yeah, that's
so you don't
true.
have to hold back anything. And I don't even have done for you part of my business anymore. And I give away everything, and it still doesn't matter, because there's still people that like they want to work with you and then implement their specific situation, because you can't cover everybody's specific situation when you are producing content. So you start general and then get specific when that person and their problems show up.
Right. Yeah, no, that definitely does make sense though, because I mean, I always heard like both sides on whether to give away, all the free value or just give away some. But I feel like when you give away more, people are more intrigued. And especially since I am just doing it all for them, it probably would be better to show them, how I do it and the actual results that you would get to, bring in those people up more.
Definitely. And the other thing is, I think that strategy is going to increase in relevance as time goes, because you compete with free content.
Yeah, that's so true.
They can search on YouTube. They can just go to Google and read blog posts. They can find it by connecting to somebody else on Facebook. Like join a group on Facebook. It's everywhere. They can pick up a book, buy a course. Like you have so much competition on information. It's ridiculous. There's no excuses anymore for people not to know the answer to things. Like the answers are absolutely everywhere. And as a business owner who produces content, you're competing against that, and people just want the answer. They want to know who to trust and quickly, and they don't want to spend a lot of time researching it. And so if it's cold traffic, especially, and they don't know anything about you, are there ways that you can, sell them and retarget them and all that stuff and sell? Sure. But you can make it a lot further on free content if you can manage the sales process. And when I say sales process, I don't sell anybody anything. I just answer their questions, be helpful, give information, and that business side takes care of itself. So there's ways to do that. So like when you're giving that information, you can highlight the fact that that's maybe 10% of the whole strategy, but you want to dive deep on it. Like if you do a workshop or a tutorial or something that's beyond those 30-second videos, you can highlight it and just say like, I just want to show you how this ties back into the whole picture, and then just go deep on that part. And that strategy's worked really well for me.
Right. Yeah. No, that definitely does make sense for sure.
Okay, awesome. Do you have any other questions or anything you want to make sure to cover?
I think we covered, the gist of it because, I was thinking of different ideas that I could get more leads. And now that we talked, a lot about doing video and doing paid video and stuff on Facebook, I think that, gives me a lot more ideas because, yeah, I'm very comfortable with doing video. I just feel like I need to do a little bit more and keeping it consistent and doing that both on my personal page and my business page on Facebook. So I think doing that and then trying to also post on LinkedIn and seeing where, that goes will definitely help me out. So I think you covered a lot, which really did, open up and give me a lot more ideas on how I can go about this for sure.
Awesome. And then for the specifics for you and the listeners, I'm going to be doing a workshop that will tie all of these strategies and go way deeper. And as far as talking how that relates to the system, I do that on the workshop without selling anybody anything. So if nothing else, tune into the beginning of that and you can see how that part lays out without selling anything. I'll just show people how it relates to the, my whole system of business growth. And then we get into the content.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That sounds great.
So if you're listening to this episode, the link for the workshop is in the show notes. And don't worry if this is years from now, the link is there. You can grab the replay. It'll be emailed to you.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for having me on today.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I look forward to seeing you put out more content and hope to see you on the workshop and we'll go deeper on that stuff.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you for listening to the Get Found Radio podcast. If you like the show, please hit subscribe to listen to some amazing upcoming episodes. We would also love if you left us an honest rating and review.